Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the No Limit Selling Podcast, where we talk to industry leaders about how they grow their people, their revenue, themselves. And before we get started with today's guest, I want to share something with you. I've got a new product coming out. It's called Mindset Boosters. It is an app that you can put on your phone, your tablet, your computer, and it's designed to give you software that allows you to change your mindset. So if you wake up one day, you're not feeling the magic, 6 minutes later, you're going to feel unstoppable. And it's got 60 tracks in it to give you the power you need to be at the top of your game, because that's what this world's all about. When you bring your best self to the world, amazing things happen. And speaking of that, I get the privilege of talking to Kevin Snow. He is the chief sales strategist with Time on Target. Kevin, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here today.
Superb. I love the title, Time on Target. It's kind of military, but it's also, hey, if you're not talking to customers, then you're doing stuff that isn't that important. And it's so easy for us salespeople to do busy activity and not activity that produces revenue.
Yeah, exactly. When I launched the company originally, I was in the military and I wanted some sort of military type term because I knew I'd work with a lot of military business owners, military vets that own businesses. So I was going through all the stuff, and that was the one that really stood out to me for that idea of I want to decrease the time it takes me to get onto my target and to be able to spend more time actually with them as opposed to doing all the other stuff. So I'm glad someone figured out the name and I didn't have to explain it. They're like, yeah, that's exactly right. Sweet. So
Brilliant. It's because it's so easy to get distracted with. I know one of the areas you focus on is technology, and technology has the ability to allow you to leverage who you are so you're more effective, but it also has the opportunity to distract you with all the things going on. So how do you get the technology you need that's actually going to be something that enhances your effectiveness as opposed to giving you the illusion of that, but in fact doing the opposite?
So the distraction thing is huge. I remember when I
What was that?
launched, I
Sorry,
said
that was
this,
a bad joke. I was being distracted. Please go on.
no, when I launched Time on Target the second time, because I had an initial launch, and then I deployed for a year and came back and basically had to restart my company. I got trapped in the whole distraction thing, and I was doing a ton of CEO stuff, or at least things that I thought were CEO things, like coming up with the company culture deck and coming up with the marketing stuff and website design and all things that weren't generating any revenue for me. So that getting distracted as a business owner happens to everyone. So when
Guilty.
it's a thing. Donnie, my business partner for Success Champions, we do that all the time. It's like, oh, we have this really cool idea. We should do this. And then, we'll get sucked down a rabbit hole. So what we've figured out is, for us, we need to have a really focused goal of what we're trying to accomplish. And hey, here's where we need to be. Here's what we got to do. And everything funnels towards that. So then we're able to ask that question, how does this help me get here? And that's the same thing that we do with our clients for technology. Because my clients come to me all the time. It's like, oh, I just saw this thing and it's so cool. We can do this with it. I'm like, how does it help with this? And if they can't give me an answer, then I'm like, well, sweet. We don't even have to talk about it. If they can answer it, it's like, all right, let's talk about how we integrate it. If it makes sense to do it now or later, and we can have that conversation. But if it doesn't actually help you get to where you're trying to go, that's your first clue that it's a distraction. And you need to say, yeah, nope, we're good. It's really cool and shiny, but I am focused on this thing.
And what's kind of interesting is, of course, that what you just said reminds me of Gary Kellerman, the guy that founded Southwest Airlines, because he would get employees coming. It's like, people really want to have a food service on the plane from this place to that place. He says, that's great. Is that going to speed up our turnaround? Is it going to increase our profit? And the answer was no and no. And it's like, okay, stay focused. So you
Yep.
really need to know who you are. And what was interesting with Southwest, at least the way I know the story, is they said, okay, who's our competition? And it wasn't another airline. They picked the Greyhound bus company as their competition. And how do we get people off the bus onto our planes? And so that's why when you get on a Southwest, it's like getting on a bus. It was like the most efficient way, pick your seat and go.
I know. I flew Southwest the first time, probably like 2 years ago. And I went through the whole process. I'm like, oh my God, why don't all the airlines do it this way? This is freaking awesome. It's like I can board at my regular time, and I'm still in the military, so I get to go a little bit earlier than normal. But I'm like, I walk in and I get to pick whatever seat I want. There's no like you have to sit here and you have to do that, and it's just so much easier. And I'm like, yep, I'm flying with you all the time now, just because of the experience.
So let's say you're starting a company. You're going to have 5 salespeople joining you on this adventure. You're starting at zero, so you have no technology. What are the tools that you pick for the team that would get them to be more effective, get them to leverage their time and effectiveness?
So there's two stages of company growth, and you're going to be doing things a little bit differently based on what stage you're in. The first stage, if you're starting from zero, that CEO needs to be out sell and
Yeah,
be selling and be in front of prospects and be asking questions and getting feedback on the product and getting and hearing all the objections and all the things that those people can say before they even think about bringing on salespeople. We have so many people that I work with that are like, yeah, I'm going to go out and hire salespeople. And my first question is why? Well, I need to increase revenue. You're not selling anything yourself. Why aren't you out selling? And forcing them to go do it. And the reason I say CEOs need to sell before they can bring on salespeople is because if you're going to bring on salespeople, how are you going to train them and support them if you haven't been out in the field? And
absolutely. Yeah.
that's a big thing. When you hire salespeople, small business owners have this huge misnomer going on that if a salesperson was really good at one company, they're naturally going to be able to sell their product and service. That's not how it works. I
Not at
was
all.
not at all. I was top sales guy with Nextel and like top 3% of the country because they spent time training me and their managers all knew how to sell stuff. And when I had questions, they could actually help me come up with a strategy and what to say and what to do. If you've never actually been out doing that, you can't do that. So your first thing when you are selling as a CEO is to go out and sell. And then look at, all right, so what are the tasks that are repetitive, that are keeping me busy and keeping me out from being in front of clients? And how do I get rid of them? How do I automate those? And then that's your first step. The next stage is sweet. I'm selling a ton. I understand who my clients are, how they make purchasing decisions. I understand how we're selling to them. I'm going to bring on salespeople. Well, now it's figuring out how you support them so that
Right.
they're not spending all their time looking for content to email out. They're not spending all their time updating CRMs and other systems with redundant information. You're looking at all that information to make sure it's easy for them to do their job and to keep their pipeline full.
Brilliant. So let's talk about some technology pieces. So let's say the CEO has gone out, they've been carrying the briefcase, they know the objections, they know the customers, they can provide some insights to the sales team. So one of the well, before we go there, I was actually interviewing a gentleman by the name of Anthony Eisman just a few moments ago before our interview, and so I said, Anthony, you've been fired from your company. Uh, you're going in a totally new industry. You're starting from zero. What are you going to do? And he says, I'm not going to learn product knowledge. I'm not going to learn competition. I'm not going to learn any of that stuff. What I'm going to do is get on the phone and make appointments.
Yeah.
And that's my only thing is to get appointments. And if I can get the appointments, I can figure the other stuff out. But that would be how I'd start from zero and start moving up quickly. So we want our salespeople to be on the phone. What are your thoughts about the uh, products like Phone Burner and Funnel Flare that allow you to automate the calling process? So you still need to talk to customers, but they do the dialing for you and automatically send out an email when you want them to or send out a voicemail. Thoughts on that kind of technology?
So um, I was not a cold caller when I was in outside sales. I hated knocking on doors and actually going door to door that way to meet with businesses. I thought it was the most inefficient use of my time. I would much rather jump on the phone and make 50 calls and be done as opposed
Right.
to spending an entire day to get to, knock on 20 to 30 doors.
And get a couple
So
of parking tickets to boot.
yeah, exactly. And have people yell at me. Uh, I'm fine. I'm fine for with the phone dialers. You need to have a good one. So and the salesperson needs to understand what the cues are for when you're live. because I've had some really horrible ones where I've picked up and there's like dead space before the
All
person
the
comes
time.
on and I'm saying, hi, is anyone there? And then all of a sudden they're talking. So it has to be set up right. Otherwise it's just horrible. And it's a
Yeah,
bad,
the two that I mentioned, both of them, you're live on the phone. And as soon as the person says hello, you say hello. There is no delay because as soon as I get on the phone, when I get a ton of phone calls,
yeah,
there's a delay. I know it's a cold call. I just go click and just get on with
yeah.
my life.
Exactly, but they're really nice because you it makes the dial, it pulls up the information in your CRM. If they're linked, they should be linked. If you're not linking them, you're doing it wrong. And then you get to see all the information about the client and what's going on. If you talked to them before, where you're at in the process, and you know what's happening. So I think they're really great because it gets rid of that dialing piece between that takes time. It literally
And
just
also,
takes
who do
time.
I call? It's already programmed in there. You're calling. And the thing I like about it is the ability to drop an email because you know what you're calling about, and to also drop a text message at
Mhm.
that same moment without having to type it up. It just says, hey, John, just dropped you a voicemail. We're trying to get, this is what we're trying to do. Talk soon. And that all stuff is magic.
Yeah, exactly. All those little things just free up, it's seconds, but over a week or over a month or over a year, that's a lot of time for a sales guy. And it saves them a lot of opportunity and it opens up opportunity for them to go out and talk to more people.
So I was watching this TV show or movie. It was in the middle of it, and it's this little kid who's like 7 or 8 years old, and he's on a bike, and this is what he's saying. It's like, when I see a girl and I get really, really scared and I don't want to do it, I go up to them as fast as possible and say hello, and I kind of just that's my cue to go take action. And so salespeople will put off the phone as long as possible. What's some ways you'd recommend that people just, get this thing done? Because most of the people I talk to are going to be there early in the morning or late at night. So if I can get the calls done early in the day, then I can go on with the rest of my day. Plus, I get more appointments throughout the week. So how do you
Yeah.
get people to psych up and go?
So when I was doing the telemarketing piece and the cold calling for as an outside sales guy, I had to schedule my time. And I had to schedule it in small blocks. If I scheduled all right, this is going to be cold calling, a telemarketing afternoon, I wouldn't do it because I would find other things that were a better use of 4 hours of my time. But for what I've done now, because I don't do a lot of cold calling anymore, most of my stuff is all social media based for my
Mhm.
prospecting. I have a set number of reach outs that I'm going to do a day. It's usually 20. And I do those in the morning. And I get up, I do my social media posting, I do the Facebook groups that I'm using for my current hunting ground, and I'll make my posts in there, and then I'll do reach outs on LinkedIn. And my goal is 20 a day, and so
That's
I get
very attainable,
yeah,
doable.
and it's like 30 minutes. So I can be drinking my coffee where I'm not ready to actually talk to people and on the phone or on Zoom. And I can do all my reach outs and social media in 30 to 40 minutes and I'm done. Now the rest of my day is set for actual meetings where I'm face to face with people or I'm working on a project or following up with clients and doing the stuff that actually generates revenue for the company.
So tell me about one of the most challenging accounts that you had to get into, how you got there and how you got to a yes and got a relationship started. So tell me one of those uh, war stories, since you're an ex-military guy, of actually overcoming because it's so easy to give up in this field that we're in, sales. It's like, oh, they don't want to talk to us. Let's move on.
Yep.
And sometimes tenacity helps, and sometimes you need to move on. And
Yeah, so when I started selling at Nextel, that was really my first real outside sales job. I'd worked in telecom prior, doing more of a hybrid position where I was a hunter and a farmer. So it wasn't really just where I was just only focused on generating my own revenue. So when I got the Nextel, I sucked. I couldn't close a deal. And part of it was my whole focus on, the features and,
right,
the bells and whistles of the technology, which, I'm a tech guy. I love technology. I am a high C on the disk profile. You give me bells and whistles and I will be like, ooh, what happens when I press this button? But that's not how I needed to sell. And so for a while, I couldn't close a deal. I wasn't getting appointments because it was all focused on, our key differentiator, the walkie-talkie thing.
Right.
For me, I had to when I turned around was when I got rid of the pitch deck and all the horrible cold calling scripts and actually started asking tons of questions and figuring out what was going on with my client's business, and then figuring out how our tool could actually help them generate revenue and fix things. We had this really cool capability. It was before all the apps and the app store and everything, where we had GPS and we had some really cool business apps where you could actually track workers and do job dispatching and all kinds of fun stuff. I could come into a client who's having issues with mileage or not knowing where their jobs are going, or having, wanting to accelerate, shorten the wait time for clients to get stuff done, and show them how to use that type of tool. And they're like, oh my God, this is awesome. And so now I went from struggling to close a deal to selling deals that were generating 3 times the revenue of other
Nice.
salespeople, because now I wasn't just selling on price and features. It wasn't like, ooh, I'll give you free phones and $50 a month. It's like, yeah, I'll give you some free phones, but it's going to be $150 a month for all these features. But that's okay because we're going to generate you an additional $25,000 a month in revenue. And
Brilliant.
yeah, and it was all because I stopped focusing on the stuff and focused on the why. And really, my prospecting became that way too. I was really started asking really questions. Hey, so I met with this company last week and they're having this issue. I'm curious, is that going on with your business too? Are you struggling with this type of stuff? And like, oh my God, yeah, we are. Awesome. Can we meet? Because I'd love to show you what I did for Bill and how we can actually help you fix that too. And now it's all focused on them as opposed to, hey, my name's Kevin. I'm with Nextel. We do this, blah, blah, blah. We can save you money. Oh, gross. So,
Only person that semi cares is your mom, and she doesn't care that much either.
yeah, everyone at that time, that was right when wireless was getting really commoditized. So most of the companies, especially I worked a lot in the construction industry, they were getting 2 or 3 calls a day from salespeople. We had 30 Nextel reps in the Minneapolis market. There were some days that I was like the second Nextel rep that they'd talk to in a cold call. And
Wow.
yeah, so you had to differentiate yourself and really figure out what's going to cause that person to like, oh, wow, he's actually talking about me and he understands what's going on in my world, and I think we can actually have a conversation that might go somewhere, as opposed to just, doing all the tired old telemarketing scripts and trying to, basically bash your client over the head with a dull instrument, hoping they'll let you in the door.
Brilliant. So, Kevin, I suspect that compared to the Kevin I see now, the Kevin from 3 years ago sucked because you've gotten better as you go. So, there's another version of Kevin out there. So, what's the number one stumbling block you're looking to overcome so you get to that next Kevin 3.0? Who does that look like, and what's getting in the way of you actually achieving it right now?
So my big thing as a business owner right now is having my hands in way too much stuff.
Hmm.
And as I add businesses, because I've discovered that now that I really like running this one, I've become a serial entrepreneur. Donnie was one of my clients and now we're business partners, and we've launched a couple of companies together. That having my hands in too many things grows exponentially. And it really keeps me from being able to scale. So my big challenge is figuring out how I let go of things, and
Right, which is
how,
tough.
yeah, it's totally tough, especially for a high C who wants to know everything that's going on. To figure out, all right, so how do I offload this part? What things can I give to a virtual assistant to do for clients so that I'm spending time strategy development with them as opposed to actually building automations and doing the integration. So that's my next big evolution, is how I get stuff off my plate so I can go back and do more business development and more high end interactions with clients that'll actually generate more revenue down the road.
Staying focused is tough to do when everything actually legitimately looks like it's important and not everything is important.
Yep.
And how do you kind of get that higher level view at it to go, yes, yes, no, 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 yes.
Yeah, for a business owner, you want to, the best feeling is when you go out and you sell a client. It's like, awesome, I just sold a client. We're going to bring in X thousands of dollars of revenue. And then you're like, oh crap, now I have to deliver. Where do I
Yeah.
fit that into my schedule? And it's trying to, it's like when you're a kid and you'd run up the teeter totter and you try and stand in the middle and keep both sides, level,
Balanced. Yeah.
um, and balanced. That's what it's like being a business owner, keeping balance between making sure I'm doing my business development stuff and I'm keeping stuff in the pipeline. I have new revenue opportunities coming in, and then also getting all the stuff done for the clients so that they keep paying me and they keep like, ooh, Kevin's awesome. I have no problem giving him more money this month to do more stuff. So because that's how you scale. That MRR is key, but if you're not delivering, you're not going to keep the MRR.
Absolutely. So, Kevin, what's one mind hack you would share with the listeners and viewers that if they could, that would help them be more productive, close more accounts, be happier, sexier? What would that thing be that you would share?
So the big thing that holds most business owners back and salespeople is that whole imposter syndrome, that whole
Yes.
concept of I'm not good enough. And it keeps people from taking bigger risks and trying to land bigger accounts. The big thing I had when I would manage salespeople were that when they were all stuck at, kind of a smaller account level and they were having to hustle to make quota, I would challenge them to, all right, just find one big account. Go sell one account. Go, I want you to close, instead of an account that has 3 phones, I want you to close an account that's got 15. And that would be the focus so that they could just do it. And they could figure out, it's like, oh, this 15 phone thing is so much better. I need 4 of those as opposed to 20
Of
of
the
the
other
3
ones.
person ones, and understanding all the free time it opens up and the opportunities. But most people are scared of going after the bigger accounts or the more complex accounts that you're going to have to do something that you might not have done a lot before. But that's all just head trash.
Absolutely. I was working with Smythe Jewelers, which happens to be the largest independent jeweler in the country. They did like a
Cool.
massive amount. And they were talking about their salespeople. They come in and then they close like a $700 sale. And they're like, oh my God, I closed $700 sale. And then they get
Yep.
them up to like 5,000. And then they take them in steps that they're selling $100,000 jewelry. But it's like, it's a belief in themselves.
Yep.
They get to the next level, they start doing it. Oh, I can do this. And then just work their way up. And that's how you get to be great is keep on going. Don't get stuck and don't just think of whatever you're doing that it's less than you're capable of, and somehow we step up and make it happen. So,
Yeah.
Kevin,
You have to like the person in the mirror. And my business partner talks about it all the time. You have to be able to get up in the morning, look at the person in the mirror and say, I like this guy. I would go have a beer with him, and be confident in what your ability to do and who you can work with. And, a lot of salespeople don't look at themselves when they're having a sales conversation with a prospect at the same level as that prospect. You have to keep yourself at that same level as that business owner you're talking to. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to have the impact that you want and close the deal how you want to. You got to come in peer to peer, and it's going to accelerate. The owner is going to know that you're treating them like a business owner, and vice versa, and it's going to go so much better. As soon as the business owner knows that, all right, I have this sales guy who's like, ooh, business owner, sales guy, I'm going to take advantage of it.
absolutely. Last guest again. One thing you said that was kind of interesting was confidence is the X factor to success.
Yep.
So brilliant. So, Kevin, tell me what makes you happy.
Uh, Generally, or like work related,
Generally, generally in life, what makes you happy?
so you know, I've learned, and this has become a big thing for me. And it wasn't before, because I was really, it's like all about my success. And I'd get really, oh, why did so-and-so close a big deal? And why didn't I get that deal? And it was very much, woe is me. I now am at a point where I can genuinely celebrate my peers having success. And I think it's awesome when they go out and do something big and that they're excited. And that's translated over for my clients as well to when they do something big that's not even related to me. I'm like, that's awesome. And celebrating it. And that makes me really happy. And that's one of the cool things that we do with one of my new companies, Success Champions Networking. It's all about celebrating the wins and building this network of people that are excited when someone does something amazing. And when someone gets that new client, even if they are in the same industry, it's like, oh, that's awesome. Congrats. That you're going to love that. That's, kudos to you. And it's builds up this huge, this network of, where everyone's in it to win and they want everyone to win right alongside them.
Brilliant. And success is contagious. Kevin, thanks so much for being on the show. I really appreciate you being here and sharing your wisdom.
Thank you for having me. This has been a really fun conversation.